Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Mindset Matters. My name is Victoria. Welcome to the podcast where we choose to look at life through a lens of being resilient, grounding ourselves in presence, and being grateful for all the awesome things that life has to offer. So let's jump into today. So I think it's fair to say that making friends as an adult is hard. It can be really challenging to meet new people, to put yourself out there, to make new friends that are meaningful. And I feel like I've heard so many people talk about, that this is something that they struggle with. And so I want to talk about today 5 not so obvious tips for making friends as an adult. Because I think we all hear, like, oh, join a new club, join a sports team, put yourself out there. And I think that that's great and that is definitely helpful. But I want to get into a few other reasons that I think aren't so obvious but are very important. So let's jump right in. Number 1 is become a better listener. People generally like to talk about themselves. If you can be a good listener for people, they're going to gravitate towards you because people want to feel heard, right? They want their voice to be heard. So if you can become someone who's a really good listener, then people, again, they're going to gravitate towards you. They're going to feel like they can talk to you, open up to you, and not feel like you're just going to shove your own opinion down their throat. Because I think as friends, sometimes we want to give other people our opinion, but sometimes they don't want it. They just want someone who's willing to listen. So in terms of meeting new people, I think if you're in a context where you can be a listener, that person's probably going to have a good impression of you. And this leads me to number 2. How can you be a better listener? Well, you need to ask better questions. Saying, hi, how are you? That's a good start. But I think what people do is they accidentally ask, like, oh, so, like, what do you do? And they ask these, like, default questions that aren't actually that great. Like saying, hey, like, so what do you do? Then you're forcing the person to talk about work. What if they don't like their job right now and they feel uncomfortable talking about it? What if they're like, oh, work's kind of boring, like that's the last thing I want to think about right now? So learning how to ask a good open-ended question is going to take you really far and allow the person to kind of talk about whatever thing that they want to. So my go-to question when I meet new people is, tell me something you're excited about right now. And this can be so casual. You don't have to make it a big deal. I might introduce myself like, oh, hey, my name's Victoria. How do you know the host? If it's like a party, I don't know. And then I'll say, so, like, what's something that's exciting for you right now? And just dropping that, it's like they really can think about it and they can say anything. Let's say they just got a new dog, they could tell you about that. Let's say they're loving their job, they could tell you about that. Let's say they started a new hobby, they could tell you about that. Maybe they're working on something really cool. It allows the other person to kind of take the conversation in the direction of their choosing. And that's going to be advantageous to you because you might pick on some other things that you have in common. You could ask follow-up questions that relate to that thing that they are already excited about talking about. So I think that's just a great way to meet new people. I recorded a podcast with Jan Keck, who is the expert of asking deep questions, and I will link that for anyone who wants more information about how to ask a good question, the importance of connecting with different people on a deeper level, and how to actually do that. So I'll leave that somewhere up here so you can go listen to that one. But let's move on to number 3, which I think is just being friendly. And I know this sounds, okay, this might be one that's like, duh, obviously you have to be friendly if you want to make friends. But I feel like people struggle with being friendly in like new situations sometimes. Like if you're someone who struggles to make friends, then maybe you tend to like stick by yourself or you tend to not put yourself out there. So I think being friendly and not being afraid to like make the first move is really advantageous. And a tip for this one, it's like, okay, well, how do I actually do that? Practice a couple compliments that you want to tell people. And when I say practice, I don't mean so you're saying it just to say something. Like, obviously, you want to be genuine in the compliment you're giving, But I feel like when you have something practiced, it's just easier to like actually use it when the opportunity arises. So even just complimenting someone on their outfit, or you look super put together in this outfit, like something that's going to make that person feel good. But again, it should be genuine. So when I say practice, I don't mean like you're going to say the exact same words to every single person. But again, the more we practice things, the more at ease we'll feel when we actually have to like do that thing. And again, just being someone who's like open, body language is a huge one. So if you're in a situation where you might meet new people, try not to be closed off. Try to be, have open body language. Keep your hands at your sides. Try not to be super fidgety. A trick for this is like if you feel uncomfortable in social situations, always like have something in your hand, like holding like a glass of even water or a drink. Like I think holding something can be helpful so that you don't have to make an excuse of, well, what do I do with my hands right now? But don't be afraid to make eye contact and smile. If there's someone that you wouldn't mind being approached by, then, just make a little, like, smile at them, and then hopefully they'll come to you. But just having open body language. Another one, if you're in a social setting, ask to be introduced to so and so. I think it can go a long way for a friend to be like, oh, hey, this is my friend Victoria, and then suddenly you have an in, and then you can use those open-ended questions and introduce yourself and like be a good listener and all that stuff. And of course, like, you don't want to just find any person and be like, okay, I need friends. Like, the idea is not that you're desperate to be friends with anyone who will befriend you. Of course, we still want to be selective in who we allow into our lives, but I think it's important to at the same time be open-minded, because you never know how you might connect with someone unexpectedly. And this is why I think it's important to try to be friendly in like different contexts, and to put yourself out there in a way where you're open to meeting people who might seem different from you, but you might have something in common. Maybe you have the same sense of humor, but they have a different spin on it because you're very different. So don't feel like you always need to be friends with like the same type of person, which also kind of leads me to my next point, which is like categorizing your friends. Not every single friend needs to be like a best friend. Sometimes you're gonna have casual friends, you're gonna have friends that are like at work and they keep your work day feeling fun and fresh, and maybe you see them once a week after work if you all hang out or something. You're gonna have sports friends or hobby friends, which maybe you see once a week at your art studio or at your volleyball game, whatever that it looks like for you. Your yoga studio, and it could just be a friendly, lighthearted thing. But those people might not become deeper friendships. But if you want the opportunity, I think that's when you need to incorporate these other things of like, hey, maybe invite someone from yoga to get a coffee after. Say, hey, like next week, would you be up for grabbing a coffee? Like give them a little notice. They can plan for that if they're interested. And then when you do that, try to, again, ask open-ended questions, be a good listener. And if you like what you're hearing from the person, that's when you might want to say, okay, I'm ready to invest a little more time in this person, perhaps. So again, it's like being open to knowing that not every friendship is going to be super deep, but learning how to pursue a friendship to maybe become something more than it already is. I guess number 5 is just a reminder that like less is more. When it comes to friends, I would so much rather have like 2 to 3 solid, deep friendships where I know these people know me so well and I feel open. I can be myself with them. We just have fun together. We can laugh. And I know I can go to them with a problem. Like, I feel like having 2 or 3 of these types of friends versus having a huge, group of friends is always my preference. And not to say that you can't have a big group of friends or you can't have a lot of friends, dispersed in different friend groups, but I think overall, I think it's just great to have, 2 or 3 solid, deep friendships will take you so far. And so it's okay to let go of that control and allow your other friendships to be a little bit more relaxed. So something I'll say on this is a couple years ago when I was really struggling in my friendships and I felt really lost. I didn't feel like I belonged. I didn't know what I wanted. I didn't feel like I was aligned in my friendships anymore. And it was really hard for me. And something that happened was I kind of got adopted into this like new friend group. And it was all like work related kind of friends. And at the time I was super excited. It was like this fun friend group. There's I think like 6, 7 of us. And ever since I kind of joined that little friend group, it's something where we hang out maybe twice a year. We do like a dinner. We did one like stay in, order food type of night, potluck type of thing. And it's so fun to connect with them. And I feel like every time I see them, the friendship does deepen a little bit. And I love that. And I think that's great. But it's one of those things where at the time, because I was feeling really lost in my other friendships, I think I automatically was like, okay, great. Maybe I can see these people kind of often. And, I wanted to like make something more of it than it actually was. And eventually I was like, okay, you know what, Vic, like loosen your grip. It's hard for like 7 women to like always have time to get together. So it's okay if you see maybe one of them so here and there, or you only hang out, those 2 times a year, that's okay. So for me, it was really learning to accept, just like loosen your grip. Like don't hold so tightly to feel like everything needs to be a certain way. And as soon as I let that go, I feel like that friendship just was allowed to flow. And now it's something that I really look forward to seeing them, but I know it's not super often, and that's okay. And in between that, I don't really talk to those people very often. But it's like, then it's a fun way to catch up, right? And I've got another friend that I'm going to be seeing in a couple weeks. She's actually going to come have a sleepover, I think, because we live kind of far away. And I don't know, I haven't had like an adult sleepover in a while, but it'll be fun. Like, I don't know, I feel like there's so many different ways you can enjoy your friendships. And again, this person, like, I haven't seen her in like a year. Has it been that long? It's maybe been over a year. Like, I don't even know. But she's someone I just deeply connect with. And every time we hang out, it's so fun. But again, we maybe text a few times a year and see each other once a year. Like, and that's okay. And I think friendships can grow and change where it can be people that you used to see all the time and now you only see them once a year. And it's, again, you have to just accept that that's kind of how it goes. We get older, we're not in university anymore. You go from being in a shared space where everyone is all about their friends to, hey, we all live in different places. People are getting married, people are having families, people are moving, farther from the city. Like, it makes sense to see people less, and you just have to let life flow and accept it. And I think the more resistance you have to friendships changing, the more friction you're causing, like the more uncomfortable other people are probably going to feel in that friendship with you. And you want to be a good friend, right? We want to all like allow life to flow. And I think if there's something happening where you feel disconnected from a friend, then hey, bring it up and like, talk to that person. But just accepting that, again, things are going to flow, things are going to change. Not everyone in your life is going to stay your best friend, but maybe a best friend becomes more of a casual friend that you catch up with. That's okay. There's so much time in your life to meet new people, and I think there's also room to like reconnect with people. I've reconnected with a couple friends recently that I hadn't seen in like years. One was a childhood friend. Actually, I'm hoping to ask her to come on the podcast with me because we hadn't seen each other in 15 years and we really went from being best friends to like not speaking for all the time. So I thought it'd be interesting to like bring her on and just talk about that with her. Okay, I think that's all I have for you today. Kind of short and sweet, and I hope something in here was helpful and like not so obvious of a tip. Anyways, have a great week, and I will chat with you very soon.